My name's Ethan Reeves. I'm a family physician in a small town in western Kansas population. Maybe 1,200 if you count the dogs. It's quiet here. Too quiet sometimes. Our hospital isn't much more than a squat brick building with a single flickering sign that reads County Medical Center. Nights there are slow. You get the occasional drunk farmer who cuts his hand on barbed wire, or some kid who tries to jump a hay bale and sprains an ankle, but mostly it's silence. The kind that hums in your ears and makes every sound feel louder than it should be. It was early November 2018, a Thursday night. Cold, windy, the kind of wind that carries dust and dry leaves against the windows. I'd been on duty since 7 p.m., and by 2 a.m., I was half asleep at my desk in the on-call room. The lights in the hallway buzzed softly. I remember that sound steady, hypnotic. Then came the banging. 3 sharp knocks on the glass door out front. At first I thought maybe it was an animal, a raccoon or something blown against it. But then came a voice muffled, shaky. "Doctor, please, somebody help me." I grabbed my coat and walked to the lobby. Through the glass, under the yellow light, stood a woman. She was maybe in her 30s, wearing an old-fashioned floral dress with a shawl wrapped tight around her shoulders. Her face was streaked with tears and sweat. I unlocked the door. "Ma'am, are you hurt?" She shook her head fast. "It's my son," she said. "He's sick. He can't breathe. Please, please, give me something. Anything." I looked around. There was no car outside, no one else with her. "Where is he?" I asked. "At home," she said between sobs. "He's burning up. I didn't know where else to go." Something about her voice made the hairs on my arms lift. Not the words, just the rhythm of it, like she was reciting lines she'd practiced. Still, I couldn't turn her away. "Okay," I said, motioning her inside. "Come sit down. Tell me his symptoms." She followed, keeping her arms wrapped tight. Her footsteps echoed lightly on the tile floor, but the sound was uneven, like one foot landed heavier than the other. "He started coughing," she said, sitting at the edge of the chair. "Then he couldn't breathe. His lips turned blue. He's only 7. Has he had asthma before?" "No." "Any allergies?" "No." I scribbled notes, trying to focus. She listed symptoms that could match pneumonia or croup, but her details were vague, like she didn't quite understand what she was describing. I said, "You should bring him here so I can examine him." She shook her head violently. "He's too weak to move. Please, just give me medicine." I hesitated. Legally, I wasn't supposed to prescribe without seeing the patient, but out here, exceptions happened. I asked what he'd eaten that day, what his temperature was. She answered quickly, too quickly. It sounded rehearsed. Still, her eyes, they were wild with fear. I couldn't ignore that. So I prepped a small dose of albuterol syrup and an antibiotic starter, packed something safe enough for a child if she was telling the truth. I handed it to her. "Give him 1 teaspoon of this twice a day," I said. "If he doesn't improve, you need to bring him in." She nodded and stood up, clutching the bag so tight her knuckles whitened. That's when I noticed her shoes. They were scuffed and wet, coated in something dark. I thought it was mud, but the color looked wrong, too reddish. When she turned to leave, the hallway light hit her feet at just the right angle. Her toes were pointed behind her. At first my brain refused to register it. I blinked hard, thinking maybe I was seeing the shadow wrong, or that her shoes were twisted somehow. But she took another step, and the heel rolled forward, not back. Every instinct in my body froze. "Ma'am, wait," I started, but she was already pushing through the glass door, vanishing into the darkness outside. The parking lot was empty, not even footprints on the dusty ground. I told myself I was overtired. 30 hours of no real sleep will do that. I locked the door, turned off the lights, and tried to forget. But when I got home that morning, my wife noticed I was pale. I told her about the woman, the story, the panic, even the feet. She frowned and said, "Ethan, you shouldn't have given medicine without seeing the kid. What if something happens?" She was right. I decided to report it the next day, just to have it on record. Only, by morning, I couldn't find the woman's name on any chart. She hadn't signed in. There was no log of the medicine I dispensed, even though I remembered scanning the barcode. It was as if the system glitched, or she'd never been there at all. I almost laughed it off. Almost. 3 nights later, I was back on shift. Same time, same silence. I was making rounds when I heard the front door creak open. Footsteps again. "Hello?" I called out. No answer. I walked to the lobby and froze. It was her, the same woman. Her dress looked even dirtier now, clinging to her legs like she'd walked through mud. Her eyes were bloodshot, lips cracked. "You remember me," she said. Her voice was rougher now, like she'd been screaming. "My boy's worse. The medicine didn't work." I swallowed. "You need to bring him here. I can't." "Just give me more," she snapped, stepping closer. I backed away. "No, I need to see him first." For a second, her face changed, something shifted behind her expression, like her features blurred for half a heartbeat. Then she whispered, "If my boy dies, it's on you." She turned and stormed out, but before the door shut, I noticed again those impossible steps, bending the wrong way. I didn't sleep that morning. My wife said I looked sick. I brushed it off as stress. 2 days later, I started coughing. At first, it was mild. By the end of the week, I was wheezing, feverish, barely able to stand. The irony wasn't lost on me. Doctor gets sick right after refusing to help a mother. The local clinic ran tests. Nothing specific showed up. They called it a viral infection. But my fever spiked at night, and I'd wake up to the sound of tapping on my bedroom window, always around 2 a.m. Tap, tap, tap. Our house sat near the edge of town, surrounded by wheat fields. No trees, no reason for that sound. My wife checked once, nothing there. But every morning, I'd find faint smears of mud on the outside glass, the same color as the woman's shoes. After the second week, I couldn't work. My hands trembled too much to hold a pen. I'd drift in and out of fever dreams' faces, crying, whispering in the hallway. Once, half awake, I swore I saw someone standing in the doorway, a woman's outline, head tilted. I blinked, and she was gone. That night, I told my wife to sleep in the guest room. I didn't want her catching whatever this was. Around 3 a.m., the coughing woke me again. I rolled onto my side and froze. Mud. A trail of it, from the bedroom door to the side of the bed. Small prints, bare feet pointing the wrong direction. I screamed. My wife ran in, flipped the lights, and the mud was gone. Clean carpet. She thought I was hallucinating. Maybe I was. The fever hit 104 that night. The next morning, I was admitted to the same hospital where I worked. I don't remember much after that. But according to my colleague, Dr. Hansen, I kept repeating the same phrase while drifting in and out of consciousness. "She's still waiting," by the door. They said I'd mumble it every hour until the sedation kicked in. I woke up 4 days later feeling weak but lucid. The fever had broken. Hansen was sitting beside my bed with a coffee. "You scared the hell out of us," he said. "Your wife said you've been talking nonsense about some patient?" I laughed weakly. "Probably. Long week." He smiled, but didn't answer right away. Then he said, "We checked the security tapes, Ethan, from the nights you said that woman came in." My stomach turned cold. "There's no footage of anyone entering the building. You were alone the whole time." I wanted to argue swear he was wrong, but the look on his face told me he'd already triple-checked. They discharged me a week later. I went home, tried to get back to normal. My wife refused to talk about it, said I needed rest. But on my first night back, I couldn't shake the feeling someone was watching. The house was too quiet. At 2:37 a.m., I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. This time from the front porch. I grabbed a flashlight and went to the window. Nothing there, just wind blowing dust across the yard. But the next morning, I saw them. Footprints on the porch, bare feet. They started at the edge of the steps, circled twice near the door, then led away each print backward, heel first, toes trailing behind. I didn't tell my wife. I just sat there, staring until the wind erased them. That was 3 years ago. I'm still alive, but I never sleep through the night anymore. I moved to a different town, stopped practicing medicine, and I still keep a bottle of that same syrup on my shelf as a reminder. Sometimes, late at night, I'll catch a faint smell of damp soil in the air, like the scent of a storm that isn't there. And once, just once, I heard a knock on my clinic door in a dream, followed by a whisper that froze my blood. "Doctor, please. My boy is still sick."